back everyone. I'm just in the middle of making a skeleton lining, something I've talked about in a couple of previous videos. Indeed, I call it the wide door lining. And I'm getting a lot of comments and a lot of interest from carpenters and DIYers alike about this particular frame. And what it does, it deals with a wide brick wall. So anyone has had an extension done, when you do knock-throughs, you're going to be an external wall, which is either going to be a full brick, which is a brick on its side, about 225mm, plastered and rendered maybe on each side. It could be 250mm. In my case, I've got cavity work. It's already been dot and dabbed on one side. We've studded it out on the other side, so we're almost 400mm. So what I do is I use two standard door lining kits, and I make a big oversized frame. If you follow me, I'm halfway through it. So it's on the bench. Now my bench is great. A couple of trestles, a bit of OSB and some plasterboard, and it's nice and flat. It's nice to work on. These are standard door linings straight out of the timber merchant. So you know the kind of thing. They're pre-ploughed out for a 764 door or an 838. I take the arises off them, I sort them out, and for this job I'll buy 3 door lining sets, because anyone who uses this timber knows that it's a bit waney from time to time, and sometimes it's got a little bit of defect in it. So I like to buy 3 kits and put out the best legs for them. So I've made both of the linings up, I've got my best sides out, and then I make up these. So this is the distance between the 2 linings, which gives me my overall thickness. In this case it's 395mm, and here's the opening it's going to go into. It's hoarded up because that's the side that people are living in, and you can see the wall construction here. We've got thermalite block, obviously your insulation. We've got face brickwork, which used to be the old face brickwork, and there's dot and dab plasterboard on there. And this is the CLS sacrificial sort of stud that we've put on there to get our services in. That gives us the overall width. It's fairly true, but I'd always work to the widest point, find which bit's out of plumb, put it in nice and plumb, and have my plasterer flatten the walls out to the door lining so everything's nice and true. So I'll just go back to this. So these are the last 2 of these I'm going to put in. And what's really nice about these is make your first lining up, make the second one up on top of that one. I use the stops that are supplied as braces, and also another little trick I'll show you in a minute. So I will put these in, starting with the 4 perimeters. This is CLS, it's nice and true. Basically, once you've screwed those in, it squares everything up really nicely and makes it nice and rigid, flattens off these jams, because sometimes these jams, as I said earlier, are a bit waney. So you can see it straightens everything up, and these had a lot of twist in them. So I've got a couple more for the middles, which will keep the middles true. And they only need to be roughly in the middle. These are going to go eventually, so they're sacrificial. So if we just whack those in the middle somewhere, here and here, and you'll see sometimes you'll find that you have to kind of clip them in because you've got to pull it all nice and straight. Let's just stick a couple of screws. I'm not screwing all the way through. This one's got to be piloted again. There we go. Here we go. And these are eventually going to come out, obviously. Once it's all fixed back, we'll stick those in there. Screws are just pinching and holding. They're not doing anything other than that. They're all going to come out, as I said before. So we'll whack these in. We're not going right through the lining. We don't want to do that. But what we do want to do, make sure it's nice and flat. So that's the idea. I'll repeat that in a minute on the other side. Then, once that process is complete, I've got these ply cleats. So my structural opening over there has been made around about 30mm bigger. So quite often, a builder or bricklayer might make it 900mm or 3 feet in old money. My casing is about 820 overall. So that gives me the scope to now put my cleats on the back of the lining. So if you pop round here, you can see that these are going to connect the lining together. I'll roughly put about 4 on each side. And these give you options, so you can fix through these And all of the fixings and everything is going to be behind the final stop that goes over, which in my case will be either 12mm or 9mm MDF. So I hang the door and then I put the stop from the door all the way to the other side and keep that back the same thickness as the door. So if it's a 38mm door, it'll be 38mm back, etc. So I make these cleats that go on the back in from the edge, because obviously I want my plaster to hit the frame. I'm going to keep these out of the way. So just for simple terms, I'll take the stops, which I'm not going to use, and I always use these as a guide. So that's the stop width in. I can just sit that on there now, and these can be just drywalled home. Drywalls are the perfect, these ones are the perfect length not to penetrate right through. And I can just whiz that on there, and that is going to do all the work. Off screw, try that one again. So there we have it. And what that makes is a nice rigid frame. The whole thing then gets lifted up, slotted into the opening. I've got a luxury here of being able to get some timber fixings in to get it all nice and true. Then I can find where I'm going to get my best fixing, pilot it all up, fix it all back. And then sometimes what's really nice as well, once you've got it all fixed in, is you could put some sort of PU expanding foam in. Don't go mad with it because it has a tendency to try and push things out, but you can build it up slowly. Wet the wall first. If you're using that foam, it sticks better. And the other thing you'll notice is that the door lining has been knotted and primed, because I don't like any moisture to go into that timber. So once you've sealed it all, you know it's going to be pretty good. And also you don't want any shrinkage in the future, or eliminate it as much as possible. Anyway, I hope that's helped for all the questions that people have asked me about the wide or skeleton door lining. Thanks for joining me.